thanks for everyone for hopping on short notice here. Excuse me. Today's trade, as we said in the release, is about doing everything we can as an organization to continue our mission and our goal of giving our team as many bites at the apple as we possibly can to sustain competitiveness and to avoid some of the down cycles that we've seen throughout baseball in the not too distant past. As we look around the industry, teams that have been able to sustain consistent competitiveness, get into the playoffs, compete for the playoffs every single year. These are teams that at times have to make very difficult decisions. And today's decision to trade Josh Hader was a difficult decision. We're thrilled with the amount of talent and the diversity of talent that we were able to get back in this trade. We were able to immediately add to our major league team, and we were able to bring in two very high ceiling, very well regarded prospects to continue to complement our system that will allow us to sustain competitiveness for quite a while. So while today was a difficult decision, and these decisions are not easy to trade good players on a good team, we believe it's the right decision for the organization to give us the best chance to remain competitive for as long as possible and ultimately win a World Series. And I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
All right. Thank you, David. We'll start off questions with Todd Rosiak.
Hey, David. I was wondering if you could maybe characterize how quickly this deal came together. And if, we all saw the reports about the Brewers shopping Josh Hader. Those have been around for a while now. But can you tell us if there was more than one team interested in him, or if you had discussions with other teams as well as San Diego?
Thanks, Todd. So what I'd say is for the last 3 years, and you said it, for the last 3 years, any time you get into a trading season, whether it was the trade deadline or the winter meetings, we would have teams call us. We have never made an outgoing call on Josh Hader. And that was true this deadline as well. But we have received many incoming calls. And that was true this deadline. And as we always do, we listen. And in this case, we had a couple of very aggressive teams that pursued Josh. And ultimately, this San Diego deal was one that we thought was in the best interest of our organization.
And we'll go to Sophia.
David, I know these are really difficult decisions, and part of that is Josh's performance, in his time as a Brewer. If you could just reflect on, how much he contributed to the team's success in his time here, the 4 postseason appearances, and also just, a player like that can garner that kind of haul to get 4 players back.
Yeah, look, Josh has performed at an elite level here for a long time. He has contributed to some of the biggest moments in Brewers history. And that's how he's going to be remembered here and deservingly so. And whenever you have a player of that stature who has performed at that level, saying goodbye to that player is really tough. And it's especially difficult to do in season. But we felt this was the right time. And it is only a player of that caliber that can garner such a significant return to make such an impact on the future of the organization.
And we'll go Steve McGargy.
You said you've gotten lots of calls about Josh over the last few years. Why was now the time to do it? Was it just a case of this was the best offer you'd ever gotten for him, or were there other factors at play as well in deciding this might be the time to do it?
The first factor is the strength of the proposal that the Padres put in front of us. We believe this is a very good package of players that benefits our team both now and for many years to come in a very impactful way. So that was the first. And then as Josh has worked through the arbitration system, nearing the end of his time in the arbitration system, these conversations naturally get a little bit more pronounced. and a little bit more focused. And I think that the combination of those two factors led to the timing right now.
And Greg Matzek.
Hey, David, you mentioned Josh's contract situation. How much does your willingness to part with him, fall on what happened to Josh in the month of July, which was kind of uncharacteristic, along with Devin Williams' performance this season?
Well, I think Devin's performance, his ascension to now be one of the best relievers in baseball, certainly gives us confidence that we have a very stabilizing force in our bullpen. I don't read too much into Josh's performance in July. Players are allowed to have hiccups. Players are allowed to occasionally struggle. Josh has performed at such a high level that I don't read too much into that.
Kurt Hogue.
David, you mentioned Devin there. Is Devin going to be the closer, or is it more of a fluid situation? And then also kind of mentioning the arbitration as things have gone along. It was his salary for next year, kind of getting up there in terms of relievers. Did that have any say, or was that a factor at all in the negotiations and not paying that for a reliever?
So from a usage perspective, I'll let Craig handle those questions when you guys talk to him tomorrow. I'm confident he's going to put these guys in the best position to succeed and put them in the best position to help us win games. And then look, as players go through arbitration, and especially really good players go through arbitration, they're going to get more expensive, and we have to look to see how that fits into the overall roster construction puzzle that we go through every season, every offseason. So naturally, as they go through arbitration, that's going to play a part in how we construct our roster.
Andrew Wagner.
David, when you go after guys and add guys to the organization who maybe hit a rough patch like Taylor has the last couple times and Lament has at times in his career, is this also a statement of confidence in your staff that you guys can see in players things that can be fixed and repaired and get them to that best version of themselves?
I think we've got a really talented staff, a really talented group of pitching coaches at the major league level that have proven they can help a lot of different types of pitchers succeed. In Taylor's case, a lot of this was and is reliever volatility that we can see. We think this is a good pitcher who's going to perform for us. And we think our staff will be able to get the best out of him.
Lance Allen.
Hey, David, kind of to follow up on what Andrew was asking, obviously there's a risk factor in any trade. You've done so many different types of trades. What is your comfort level in Lamet's, injury history and Rogers, just the little things he's been going through of late as well? What's your comfort factor and all that?
Look, clearly to make a trade like that, you have to make a trade like this, you have to investigate those types of aspects. And we wouldn't have gotten to the finish line had we not been comfortable in what we saw from those two guys.
We'll go back to Todd.
David, could you maybe provide a little bit of background on both Kiebert and Gasser, just what they kind of bring to the table? And also, is there a chance we might see Ruiz in the majors at some point this season?
So there is a chance we could see Ruiz in the majors at some point this season. He will begin his time with us in AAA, and we'll go from there. Clearly, this is now a player who has had some major league experience, a very talented athlete, a gifted outfielder. And in terms of Gasser, this is, in our opinion, quietly one of the better pitching prospects in baseball right now. He was one of the targets of ours out of Houston in the draft. The Padres did a great job selecting him, have done a great job with his development through the first year or so of his professional career. And we're really excited to get him into our organization.
And we'll go back to Steve.
You still got about a little over 24 hours left before the deadline. Do you like what you have on the roster now, or do you feel there's still more work to be done, improvements you can make from now between now and tomorrow afternoon?
I would say we're always looking to improve, and we are very active on the phones right now. We have a lot of conversations that are going. It is always difficult to predict what gets over the finish line, but we've got a lot going on right now.
And Kurt?
David, how critical was it to get impact right now, major league relievers with Rogers and Lamet?
I think it was important for us to be able to feel like we were stabilizing our bullpen, understanding how big a piece Josh is to that and has been. And so to be able to bring back two major league pieces that fit into that group, I think is helpful.
And go ahead, Todd.
David, as far as Lamet goes, how confident do you feel about his health? He's obviously had a lot of elbow issues in the last couple of years. Do you feel like he's kind of past that right now? And is he going to be looked at strictly as a bullpen piece, or might he make some spot starts at all? I don't know if he's stretched out enough at this point.
Yeah, I think for now we would look at him as a bullpen piece, and he is pitching healthy right now. You're right. This is a player with a very robust injury history, but he is pitching healthy at the moment.
And Andrew Wagner?
David, I think I probably know the answer to this, but due diligence. Were there conversations with Josh's team about a possible extension?
I'm not going to comment on the specifics of any particular negotiation, other than to say that over the course of years here, we've had many conversations with a variety of our players to see if there's overlap. Generally, the only ones that become public are the ones that get over the finish line, and all of the other conversations stay behind closed doors, which is where they belong.
And back to Greg.
Yeah, David, this is sort of new territory for you since the team has become competitive. Usually you're sending prospects versus sending all-stars. That hasn't really happened at the deadline for you. How challenging is that, just to convince yourself and be true to your convictions that it's the right move to make to take an all-star closer off a team in first place?
These are difficult decisions. And as we've done our best to determine how we can extend our window of competitiveness for as long as possible, how we can avoid some of the deep down cycles that certain organizations have experienced, we believe that making decisions like this, regardless of how difficult they may be at that point in time, is really essential. Mark, his family, our ownership group, they are not interested in a prolonged rebuild ever. Our fan base is not interested in a prolonged rebuild ever. In order to avoid those prolonged down cycles, we believe occasionally making a very difficult decision like this is needed, and that's why we made the move today.
And we'll take one final one with Todd Rosiak.
David, obviously everybody in the clubhouse is a professional. Many of them have been traded before in the past, but Josh is obviously a very popular player in that clubhouse with a lot of close friends. Are you concerned at all with maybe the reaction from the team, or have you heard from anybody about the trade? I'm assuming everybody will move forward in a professional fashion, but when you take a key piece out of the mix like that, sometimes it can be a little bit unsettling for guys.
I've talked to a number of our players. I've talked to a number of our coaches, and I think people understand the business side of this. People understand that difficult decisions have to be made, and they're sad to lose a friend. They're sad to lose a really good coworker, and I think they understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. But sure, it's still tough. A lot of these guys have known Josh for almost the entirety of their professional careers. They've come up together, they've grown together, they've won a lot of games together. And so this was for a good segment of our clubhouse. This was difficult news. I do think they'll rally. I think they have confidence in the other players we have in our bullpen, in our arms, in what our team currently is. And very understandably, I think there's some sadness about seeing a friend walk out the door.